All right, everybody, how's it going? We're going to try to do a little operating session here on the layout. I've got, you can probably see I've got a few cameras set up here. So we've got this one, and I got a secondary camera over here on the car float. And then, of course, I got the webcam on the right. So I've got some cars set up on the layout. I'll just do a quick pan around. And we have some cars on the barge. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, if it sounds good. I've got a whole new audio setup here. Not whole new, but it's new for this. So anyway, I've got some cars here. We've got some cars on the car float here that we're going to unload. We've got some cars to load onto the car float. And we're just going to do a little operating session because I want to, for one. And also, I'm going to be moving in a couple of weeks, so I have to take the layout down. It is movable. I should be able to move it just fine, but just in case, I wanted to get it, I guess, sort of on record and have a little stream. And also just to, hang out with you guys and show off the layout a little bit and just sort of see if this is possible, essentially. Just trying to get myself situated here. I'm trying to see, I'll do my best to keep my eye on the chat. Looks like John Papp, what's going on, man? How you doing? And it looks like there's maybe 6 other people watching right now. So I'll try to keep an eye on things and try not to derail any trains or anything like that. I did just clean the track, so we should be pretty good. Oops, not that one. We should be pretty good for operating, hopefully. And I could zoom this out a little bit more. What is a better view for me? I guess maybe make that bigger. I don't know what's better to watch. This camera here is the nicer camera. This camera is 4K. Although the stream is not in 4K. But yeah, so we could do that, and I could also switch to, I've got the web camera set up as sort of a bird's eye view, so this is pretty much the whole layout here. So we could also switch to that, but I'll probably try to keep on this camera for the most part. Move my water over here too. All right, so to get things started, let me switch over to this camera. We've got our car barge here, and we've got a few cuts of cars here that we need to first unload. So I'm going to start with these 2 NW2s, and we're going to grab our spacer car and go pick up the cars that are on the barge. Go. And again, I'll try to pan the camera when I can. What's going on, Liam Reynolds? How you doing, buddy? And I'm already going the wrong way. This is going to be tricky. So I've got waybills already filled out and set up so we know where everything is going to go. And that's how we'll do it. What's going on, Willow Creek? What's going on, Train Guy? So what process do I use to clean my track? I generally use, let me get pulled out of here. I've got this little thing set up. Actually, the rubber band just broke on there, but I use a cotton cloth on the end of a pair of chopsticks, and I just saturate the end of this with mineral spirits, and I go over the whole layout go over all the track as best as I can. And I actually just started using the no oxide stuff. Let me see if I have it wherever I put it. I actually just did an application of this for the first time. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on this, but yeah, there we go. So I heard about this on Ron's Trains and Things, and I thought I'd give it a try because my track just oxidizes like crazy. So it's like a Vaseline kind of paste. But my track, like, you know, I'll clean it and then like the next day it'll be black again. So I thought I'd give this no oxide stuff a try, and so far it seems to be pretty good. I haven't noticed any issues with the layout as far as like wheel slip or anything like that. In fact, everything seems to run a little bit smoother with it applied. So if anything, it seems to have helped. But yeah, usually I just use odorless mineral spirits is usually my go-to. But yeah, my track, I don't know if it's because I live like near the Jersey Shore, so I get a lot of that like moist, damp, humid air all the time, but like my rail is like, it's just black constantly. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we're going to pull this cut of cars halfway off of the car float, and we're going to leave it. Hopefully these don't roll off. And then we're going to come over and pick up this cut. Is the layout sectional? Yeah, I'll show you. Let me just couple up to this cut of cars, and I'll show you exactly where the sections are. The whole length of the layout is only 10 feet long, so in theory I probably could get away moving that as it is. But let me switch the cameras here. Back to this one. So there is a seam right here that sections off this section from this section. So there's one piece of track over here that goes up to the apron that I'll have to cut. And then down here, right here, you can't really see it on the stream. Maybe you could see this part of it. This section and this section are separate. I think this section down here is 4 feet and this one is like 6 feet because the whole thing's 10 feet. So I'll have to cut the rail here and I'll have to cut through the pavement a little bit, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. My main concern is maybe more when it comes to reconnecting everything. So we'll see how that's gonna work. I'm a little nervous about that, but you know, we can only just do the best and hope for the best. I mean, if I have to, like on the yard tracks, I might have to like pull up a section of the track and like reconnect it so it's like one solid piece again. That shouldn't be too much of a big deal. The wiring is all made to disconnect pretty easily, so I'm not too concerned about that. But, you know, it's, it's still a scary thing. All the buildings are removable too. They're all, they all kind of just, which camera am I looking at? Each corner of the building has some registration pins, and they just go right into some holes on the layout to hold them in place. So this will just lift up pretty easily. know if this is a better view. No, it's not a better view. Of course, you can never really get a good connection with N scale. Whoa, so we got a problem here. So some of these, oh, you know what it is? Some of these couplers, the little hose gets caught on the turnouts, and I have been just systematically removing them as I come across them. So let me just do that quick. You can't even really call it a coupler hose, it's just the whatever that little wire is. Because I'm never going to use magnetic uncouplers, so I really don't care for them. And they just get stuck on everything and derail your trains constantly. More trouble than they're worth. So these two engines should be enough to pull this entire consist. And what we'll do is line up my tracks. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let the sections acclimate to their new environment for a few weeks before putting it back together. Right, that's good advice. I didn't think about that. Yeah, probably any moisture or anything like that might resettle. All right, let's back this guy up. Oh, of course, the car that just had the problem, I messed up the coupler on it when I was doing that. Might be easier to just take them out. The things that go wrong as soon as you try to live stream. Okay, I think we're good. No, this coupler's all messed up. Let's just take this car out. I'm not going to waste everybody's time fighting with it. Let me grab the car card, Seaboard. Put him on the workbench. So there is one spot where he's going to stall. Yeah, he's having a hard time pulling. A lot of wheel slip. He's going to stall like right here. There's some kind of a power issue. I think the frog juicer is dead. Yeah, see, he stalled there. And he stalled there when the other engine got on it. I think the frog juicer, the wire for the frog juicer might have come out. Come on. So maybe, like I said, this is my first time actually running it with that no ox on the tracks. So maybe it does have a little bit more of an effect on there than I had anticipated. Looks like we got another car on the ground. Everything's going wrong. Oh, probably because my switch wasn't thrown properly, of course. This is the dangers of trying to live stream and run a layout at the same time. I don't really have the brain capacity to do this. So we'll just pull this guy into about here. And cross over. These engines are on the ground too. Oh my god. Always check your points. All right, so we're actually pretty good here. So what we'll do is look at the chat here because you guys are probably all laughing at me. Hey, Tim, what's going on, man? Did all the Cross Harbor engines face the same way? Yeah, they did. They all faced south. They were long hood south. I'm not sure why. There was no way to turn them around, but that's how they were all delivered. I mean, if you were to turn them around, you'd have to put them on the barge, I think, but that's the only way that I could think to do it. Your layer reminds me of Boomer Diorama's. Yeah, I love his videos, so he's definitely been an inspiration. What's going on, Flame Rails? Yeah, no oxes of grease. Yeah, I did a very thin coat of it, but again, this is my first time running it since I added it, so it's probably got to spread out a little bit. All right, so let's get back to operating here. So we've got cleared the rear end here. Normally what I would do is I would bring the loads from the float on this track and this track, but this boxcar is in my way back here. So I took it onto this last track here, and if we look all the way down at the end, you can see I definitely don't have enough room to pull that whole cut down. So what we're going to do is we're just going to break this. I think I have room for 3 or 4 cars, but I've got 2 engines. We'll try 2 cars. And I need this space. Actually, you know what we'll do? I haven't run this layout enough to actually know all of the moves. What we'll do is this part of the yard here I usually use for outbounds, and this is actually an outbound cut here, but it'll take this entire load. So let's just shove the whole load down into here and get it out of the way for now, and then we'll sort everything. So some of these cars that just came off the float are going to be local deliveries for here, and some of them are going to go out to Long Island. And again, we're getting stuck on things because those coupler pins are hitting stuff. There we go. And then the next step we'll do once we drop these cars on this siding here, this yard track, we'll load up the barge with 2, 4, 5 cars that are going out. Which usually I would wait till I had more, but we can, for the sake of this session, we'll just do these. And if you guys enjoy these streams, I might consider, if I decide to try to do more of them, this camera that you're looking at here, this one is 4K. My other camera is not 4K, but I might look at a way of getting everything set up to be 4K. So we could have a nice clean 4K stream. Hello, I see a lot of new names in the chat. Welcome if you're new to the channel or new to the stream. Good to have you here. Okay, let me just double check all my points this time. All right, so what do we have? 2, 4, 5. We've got 5 cars for the barge. So we might not even need to load the middle track. We could probably just do the 2 outside tracks. Or we do one, I'm trying to think here, one in the middle. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just do 1 car in the middle. These are all empty cars. So we'll do 1 in the middle and 2 on each side. The gondola is just a spacer car that's used to keep the weight of the engines off of the barge. And I'm hoping once I get to the new house, the room I'm going to be in is about the same. It's a little bit bigger than the room that I'm in right now. But it's oriented differently, so I might have a little bit more space for the layout. I'm hoping to maybe extend the layout that way a little bit so that I actually have room on the sidings to drop like cars off. Like right now I can only fit 1 car in there. So I'm hoping that I can maybe expand it maybe about a foot or so. And that would allow me to at least squeeze in, a little bit more of an industry there. So we'll just push this empty sort of in the middle. And then, because these are all empties and we don't have like a whole lot of cars to put on here, I'm not going to worry about loading normally you would park the cars like halfway on the barge, but I think we can get them all on there safely while balancing the barge properly. And then once we get these loaded here, we can start sorting out the cars in the yard. It should be good. And then we could do some switching in the yard. And I'll move this camera to a different spot. going on, August? Thank you for the sub. Welcome to the channel. Good to have you here. What track system am I using for the layout? So all the track that is on the layout is Atlas Code 55, including the turnouts. Unfortunately, this camera just shut off. The Atlas Code 55 turnouts have a lot of issues. I'm kind of hoping that maybe sometime down the line I might replace them, or on a future layout I'd like to replace them with handmade turnouts because they're just so unreliable. But yeah, it's all Atlas Code 55, weathered. The barge, all the track on the barge is hand laid. Did that myself. There's a video on my channel about how I did it. But yeah, I like the Atlas track because it's probably the best looking American track. I know Pico has Code 55, but I don't really love how that looks. I know it's way more functional and it works, but I don't like the high rail and the thick ties and the European tie spacing and all that. It doesn't look good for me. So we will drop the spacer car right here with the caboose. Normally I would run with the caboose as well, part of this with the spacer car, but the couplers lately have just been kind of popping off, and I just didn't feel like dealing with that. So. Now the problem that I have right now with this layout is that I don't have any spot to really park the engines when I'm not using them, so they kind of just stay in the yard. On the prototype there was an engine shed all the way down on the north side of the layout, which I hope to model maybe in the new place. So let me just stop these guys here, see what's going on in the chat, and then figure out what I'm going to do next. If I consider making my own, I'm assuming you're asking about making my own track. Yes, I've tried making my own turnouts. I spent a little bit of time doing it. I got really frustrated and gave up on it, but I'd like to get back at it. What locomotives are on the layout? Right there, you're looking at two EMD NW2s. And then we've got the S2, an Alco S2. The prototype operated S1s, but nobody makes an S1 in N scale, so I'm using S2s. Yeah, I could show you, I did some, let me get some of the drawers here. So I did kind of begin doing some turnouts, but I was really having a hard time soldering the points reliably. So, I mean, I could get most of the rest of it, pretty well done, but those points are a real pain in the butt. Not just soldering it, but getting them filed down properly, but I'd like to get back to it. Also, back to the engines. The Cross Harbor, where are they? I do have a couple of other engines in my collection here. Just don't know where. So I also have an RS3. The Cross Harbor inherited 2 of these units from the Brooklyn dock, or New York dock, and they did say Southern on them. They just sort of blocked it out. I haven't gotten to doing that yet. And then I also have this guy. This is a Whitcomb. The Cross Harbor did not operate the Whitcombs. The South Brooklyn Railway used the Whitcombs. And they operated nearby, and when Pico announced these, I was like, oh, I gotta get one. I still have to paint this up in the proper colors and stuff, but I've got that, and somewhere, I've got a couple other engines in some other locations, but these are the ones that I run. Oh, dude, I got all the. Let me pan the camera. I've got all the things to do the handmade track. It's all I got it from, what is it, handlaidtrack.com or whatever. I've got the rail. I've got the jigs. You know, I've got all the things to do it. It's just a pain. It's just time consuming, you know. And it's a handmade thing, so you got to have patience and whatever else. How many people we got watching? 21. Cool. Awesome. All right, so let me figure out what I got to do next. My next moves here. So as you can see, I've got the car cards and weigh bills here. I think the next thing to do is to pull all of the cars out of the industries. So everything is good to go. Like down here at the team track, those are ready to go. We've got Hercules box here is ready to get pulled. East Peak Trading can be pulled. And I think that's it. Oh, and then there's a scrap car here. That's loaded. That is ready to go too. So we'll start with that. We'll use the Alco. So I usually use the NW2s to unload and load the barge since they have a little bit more power. And then I use the S2 to pull all the cars. So the other thing is that these cars that you see here and this one over here, they are ready to go to these other locations. So they're in what you would call the off spot location. So we will spot those as well. Let's see, select Loco 21. So I guess we'll just start by pulling everything that's on the same track that we're on here. Now this engine, actually before I need to warm it up. I don't have a loop of track, but this engine runs like crap unless I dial it up to full and let the engine like get like warm. So let me just run it back and forth a couple times. Otherwise it kind of stutters and starts and stops. And you can even see it. Actually, let me turn off. The one thing I found is that if I turn off the sound on it, it actually runs better. So turn off the sound. You probably can't hear the sound anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's like the one thing that kind of stinks with N-Scale is just running at slow speed. The engines or the motors that are in there are not really the greatest. You know, it's come a long way, but yeah, there's still some to be desired. All right, so we got that car. And let's grab these empties down on the team track. Make sure our junctions are set correctly. So what we'll do is we'll put those on the track next to those NW2s there. They need to get put down on these stub-ended tracks since they're going outbound empties, but we're not there quite yet. Well, the scrap gondola is not empty, obviously. And it's probably going to die as soon as it hits this spot. Like I said before, I think the frog is dead there. Oh, he made it over. Oh, now he stopped. Yeah, there's some wiring issue in there I got to get underneath and take a look at. I think part of the problem is there's 3 turnouts like connected in a row here. They all have feeder wires on them, but there's still a million things that can go wrong in there continuity-wise. So, yeah, so I'm going to put that there. Yeah, what I should have done was put the NW2s on the track that I'm going on to now. So that way I could have left this cut of outbounds where the NW2s are, but it's not a big deal. So now let me look at my car cards here, and I want to see where these cars are going to. These two, Boston and Maine, and then the Santa Fe one. So they are on track 5. So I got my car cards here. I took them out of the box. Boston and Maine, 823, which is this one, is going to Hercules box, which is way down there. This guy is going to Plywood Specialties, which is over this way. And the Santa Fe is going to Yi Pin, which I keep getting mixed up in my head, how I had this oriented. Plywood Specialties. Because I kept changing around the industries, like who's where. It's East Peak. Yi Pin is right here. No, Yi Pin is the one down there where the CN boxcar is. So we'll start with that. We'll start with that Santa Fe boxcar. We'll grab the 2 cars here, and we'll go from there. And obviously, if you guys have any questions or comments or you want to see something, I think the other issue I've been running into is actually getting the engine over the track that's in the road. I did just clean it really thoroughly, so maybe it'll work today, but we'll see. So we'll kind of use these cars as, what do you call them, idler cars or handles or whatever. Grab the Santa Fe as well. And we'll probably actually want to see, where did I say that Santa Fe car was going? Well, yeah, the Santa Fe car is going to go where the CN car is. So let's start with that. Pull that one out of there first. Of course, coupling on this is basically impossible because it is a bend. This is probably the first time I ran the layout in a couple of months. Like actually done like real operating. Yeah, the other problem with these Atlas turnouts is, I don't know if you could see it, but, well, the cars kind of pop up on the points because they don't stay at the same level as the rest of the rail. Like when they're under pressure from the switch machine. It's just a real pain. I really hate them. But they're all we got. Not only that, but like I went through a whole bunch of turnouts when I was building this layout that had absolutely no power continuity between any of the closure rails or the points. Like, in fact, all of these, just to be sure, I put a PCB tie in the middle of them to make sure that there was continuity between the closure rail and the stock rail on the inside, because there's just no way to guarantee it any other way. Let me see what's going on in the chat. John Papp sent me an email. Cool, I'll check it out. Static grass, I don't know, I just did it. What I found is with the static grass, you can put like, you know, some people will put like blobs of matte medium or white glue or whatever down and then apply directly to that. And I found that if you want to cover a large area, using a little bit of wet water helps the continuity of the grounding wire actually get into the glue and get into everything, and that helps it stand up. You really don't want to do that too close to the track because then you end up with static grass like in the gauge. But yeah, I found a little tiny, very small amount of wet water really helps give some power continuity to that grounding wire. How did I become approach medium? Let me come back to that. Hang on, before I answer that question, I gotta look at this car that's in Hercules. Who is going to Hercules? This front car is gonna get spotted there. So what's going to be the smart thing to do? Well, the CN car is going to be outbound, so we're going to leave that on there. So we'll connect those two. But how did I become approach medium? That's a really good question. I mean, it all started back in like 2016, 2017. I guess the thing that kind of kicked it off was N3V had reached out to me I had a route that I was working on called the Franklin Avenue Industrial, and they reached out to me. It was a little model railroad route, and I wasn't doing YouTube at the time or anything like that, so I was only sharing screenshots like on the forums or whatever. But N3V reached out to me and asked if I'd be willing to, you know, finish the route and put it into the Trains Model Railroad edition of the game that came out in like around then, 2016 or 2017. And I was like, yeah, sure. And when I was working on that, I got really into it, and this was right around the time that City Skylines, the original game, was becoming really popular, and a lot of people on YouTube were doing like Let's Builds or Let's Plays or whatever you want to call it in City Skylines, and they were building these really great cities. And I kind of just went down this rabbit hole and got really into all this like city building stuff. And as I'm watching some of these guys and I'm listening to them, I'm like, you know, I don't play City Skylines, but I'm doing the exact same thing, just in this game called Trains. I was like, let me just try making some videos doing this. And at the time I was still working on the P&B really slowly, and you know, I thought maybe if I started a YouTube channel and I started doing videos on the P&B, I would be more likely to actually finish it if I had people watching and had, like, you know, essentially an audience of people also interested in the route. So I started doing videos on the P&B, and then it just sort of grew from there. How did I come up with the name Approach Medium? I honestly don't really know. I think let's see if we can make it across the road here. I think I was just looking for something that sounded kind of railroady, but wasn't, you know, in the same vein as like what everybody else was doing, which was like either their favorite engine or something like Train Man 43 something, you know, like I didn't want to do any of those. And I think I was just happened to be looking at like NORAC signals or something like that, the book or whatever it is. And I saw Approach Medium, and I saw the pattern of the lights, and I thought that the colors looked cool. And that's just sort of what I went with. All right, so we got this B&M car on the front here on the head end that we need to switch out. So we're going to run around this. Let me peek at the chat. What applicator did I use? I used for the static grass, it's just the Woodland Scenics Static King. Nothing fancy. I did buy the AC adapter to plug it into the wall, though. Or you know what? Let me think here. What makes more sense? Because we're going to have to run around this consist again. Maybe not. We'll run around these right now. So yeah, like, I mean, as far as like the channel goes, it just sort of grew over time. The more I did it, the more I enjoyed building and talking about what I was building, and then now it's sort of transitioning, not transitioning, but now I'm adding in this N-scale stuff. You know, that sort of was, I don't want to say was always my hope or dream, but I, for a long time, had sort of fantasized about trying to get some N-scale stuff going on the channel as well. But, you know, I really wasn't able to do that anyway until I had the space. So, I mean, really, when I started doing the YouTube and started working in Trains in the game, it was really because I didn't have the space to do N-scale stuff, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, I love the game and everything, but like, I'm more of a tactile person. I'd rather be working on actual physical models and stuff than sitting at a computer desk. It drives me nuts, to be perfectly honest. But you know, working and building routes in the Trains game sort of filled that void because I didn't have the space for my N-scale stuff, because I was living in a, you know, 500 square foot apartment in Brooklyn, New York for many, many years. And then when I finally did have the space, I didn't have the money. And it just so happened now in my very late 30s, I have the recipe for both, at least for now. So I'm just trying to enjoy it while I can. And I'd like to do more scale stuff, like not just N scale. I don't really know where I'm going to go with it all, but I do know this isn't the end. There's still more I want to do. Like, I would really like to get into doing some 3D printing. or like custom building structures for N scale, things like that. Like I feel like there's a really big void in N scale for a lot of things. And I think N scale has a tremendous amount of potential, especially now. And I would like to try to fill that void where I can. I don't really know how specifically, but you know, going back to like the Atlas track, how garbage it is. I don't know, could I make something? Could I work with somebody to make a new track system? Like that would be awesome. You know, those are the kind of things that float around in my head for the future. All right, so we're gonna spot this car here. Up at, I believe this is Plywood Specialties. Oh, back up. All right, Tim, thanks for hanging out, man. Enjoy your day. See you next time. All right, so I think what we'll do now is we will, since we're already on the rear end of these cars here, we'll run all the way to the back of this cut that we pulled out earlier, and then we'll shove them onto this other yard track over here. So let's do that, and then what we could do is we can sort these cars that we just got, and we could either spot them or just leave it at that. I don't even know how long I've been streaming for. Let me look at the time. Just about an hour. Okay, that's good. 23 people hanging out. That's good. More people than I expected for this. Thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you're all having a nice Saturday. Yeah, you can see the cars kind of dropping as they go over those switch points there. Real pain. Don't love it. Let's see. We can go up this track. It's probably the best. Check all my switches here. Oh, good. Good, Liam. I'm glad to hear, man. This is kind of cool to do. I never really thought about actually doing an N-scale live stream, but this is a really good proof of concept. It is doable, and people do like to watch it, so I like that. It makes me happy. It also makes me feel like I've got a little bit more purpose as far as like the layout goes, you know? I like to be able to share it with people. Something's up with this turnout too. I don't know why. I don't know. Some of these things, like I do, before I put ballast down or anything like that, I really thoroughly tested all of these turnouts. Everything's wired up. There's literally feeder wires on every single part of the turnout that there could be. And they still somehow end up giving me problems. Let me look at the chat. Saw a few things here. Would ever build something international like Europe, for example, in trains? Probably not. I'm not really interested in European railroad stuff. And I'm very much an impressionist as far as like the things that I like to model go. Like I grew up in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and that's the type of stuff that I'm kind of interested in modeling. So yeah, probably not anything for Europe. Hey, N-Scale Train Boy, what's up, dude? All right, later on. I see you're like, hey, I can't stick around for long. Okay, bye. All right, so we don't have enough room at the north end down here to pull this cut of cars. And that's kind of how it was in real life as well. They really just kind of cut it off up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to shove this forward and then pull it back down the yard ladder. Do I have my next project for trains going yet? No, this is me taking a break from trains. I do not. I haven't... I don't want to say I haven't given it any thought, because that's not true. I have been thinking a lot about it. And we've been discussing some ideas in the Patreon section on my Discord, like me and some of my patrons. So I have some ideas floating around in my mind, but there's nothing that I'm really stuck on yet. The one thing that I've been thinking is like maybe I should do something that's a little bit more, what would be the word? Mainstream, I guess, might be the word. Like the Cross Harbor that I just finished, it didn't really sell too well, and I don't know if that's just because it was Trains Plus only, or if it's because people just weren't that interested in a little switching module like this. So I don't know. I was partially thinking maybe something that's a little bit more modern and something that more people would be interested in, but it's still going to be in Trains Plus. So I don't know. That's the only downside for everybody. But yeah, I haven't landed on anything yet. I've got some ideas floating around in my mind, but nothing solid yet. All right, so now actually these two NW2s are actually in our way. So let's bring our focus back to them, and what we're going to do is we're going to move them up here. Do I even want to put them up there? I'll go the other way, actually. We'll go down here. John, you did get the Cross Harbor. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think the people who did get it have enjoyed it. I've got nothing but good feedback about it. It's just that I definitely didn't get the number of sales that I was expecting so far. Maybe it'll be kind of a slow burn. You know what I mean? Like over time, it'll sell as people upgrade to Trains Plus over time, or once HD. The thing is with Trains Plus is it's got the HD terrain, right? And I used that on the Cross Harbor. That's the main, I guess, part that is sort of holding it all back. But eventually that's going to be part of the base game. So maybe once that happens, people will start getting the route again. I don't know. It's really not a big deal. Did want the extra money, though, because I am buying a house. All right, so let's bring this guy down. Oh, he's got his sound back on again. Why did he turn it on? Don't want the sound on. I really don't know why this engine does not perform as good when the sound is on. What's the problem now? No, it just doesn't want to work. There he goes. Ah, Maddox, thank you. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. Oh yeah, John, you're right. I mean, that's definitely part of the issue. But you know, hopefully maybe that smooths out over time. What's going on, Odin? I mean, part of that though is just like, how do you sell new copies of the game without adding new stuff? You know what I mean? So certain features have to be specific to certain versions of the game so that people will actually buy that version of the game. All right, so these will get loaded onto the next outbound car float, which, you know, if we want to continue the session and keep it going like indefinitely, we can do that. But right now there is no car float scheduled. All right, I'm going to take a second to get my car cards situated here. So we'll stop that for a second. Take a peek at the chat. All right, nothing new. All right, so now we've got all of our industries here, and we picked up the bulkheads, 2 bulkheads with the gondola. We got the center beam. We got the CN and the BAR. So these cards all go with this cut of cars here, and the box for that is unfortunately all the way over here. So that's where that goes. All right, so we did spot a couple of cars. Where did I put those cards down? I had the car cards. Oh, here we go. So these are the car cards for the cars that we did spot. So we did put the BM boxcar in Hercules, so that's good. We can put that into here. Plywood Specialties down there. That got spotted, and Yi Pin also got spotted. So we're good there. And we have this lonely CN boxcar here, which is going to go to East Peak Trading, which is this siding right here. And what we could do is take a look at the car cards from the cars that we picked up on the float. Which are all these. And we'll just try to get them organized quickly, because I didn't do it when I picked up the cars. So let's see, boxcar. You probably can't even read those. New York Central. I like to keep them in the order. Seaboard. And then we've got Railbox, 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 Hopper, and the bulkhead. So we can get to sorting those out. Am I still using the car planner software? No, I took a break from that. I I do want to try to use it, but I needed to take a break from it. It's just too much for me to sit down and do that. John, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the Trains Plus is that it is subscription-based, which stinks. I mean, the big thing with it is it's the HD terrain. It's going to be part of probably the next version of the game or the next update. I don't know what the timeline for that is specifically, but eventually it will be part of the base game and it won't be part of the subscription service. So you could just kind of hold off a little bit longer. It'll get there eventually, maybe later this year. I'm not too sure what the release timeline is for that. All right, so let's pull up and grab our cut of cars here. And actually, let's look through these really quick. So these are now in order of the cut here, or of the cars. This first car is going to go to the LIRR, so is the next one. So we'll have to sort those out. These other ones are local. The coal hopper is for the LIRR. And the last car is for Davidson Pipes. So what we could do is we'll just sort them right on this track here. So let's pull up. And we'll grab them. Yeah, I get you, you know, as far as the subscription goes. There's a lot of people who, you know, aren't going to pay for the subscription for the Trains game. And I get it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I would probably be one of those people. So, you know, it's really not, you don't have to apologize. It's not crazy at all. All right, so let's back up. And we have an empty track here, which we will use for the Long Island Railroad interchange cars. And then I guess we'll see where we are once we get these sorted out. If I feel like continuing to stream and run this session, we'll keep it going. If not, maybe I'll call it quits there. We'll see. See how long this takes. I think it's only 4 o'clock, so. Gotta open my window. It's getting hot and dry in here, but it might get noisy with the Jersey Transit outside. Should close all these doors. These are supposed to be loaded, not empty. All right, we'll leave this guy here. So we know these 3 cars are for local industries and these 2 are going to the LIR, so. Would I like to see more versions of rolling stock skins in base trains? Yes! I think rolling stock variety is always welcome for sure. I like the, my favorite is the chameleon skin though, when you put the car down and then you delete it and you put it down again and it keeps changing the skins. I like that better than having like a million different freight cars to pick from. Odin, $5. More trends, yes. Definitely more. Bring back route review videos. You know, that's one of those things where I'd like to do it, but it also opens up like a whole can of worms for just so many different things. Then people start messaging me and saying, hey, I made this route, can you review it on your channel? You know, so then I get those kinds of messages and stuff like that. And then, you know, there's also like, oh, why didn't he review my video or my route? You know, there's people who are gonna be like, oh, he didn't pick mine. It must not be good enough. You know, so I don't. It's like a fine line to try to walk. But I try to think about it from the benefit of the community's perspective, like for you guys. Like it is a really great way for you guys to find out about new routes and stuff like that. Like I know, like a lot of times when I'm making a video, if I'm trying to make a piece of content, I think about what I would want to see if I was in the audience. You know, what kind of content would I be looking for? So, you know, I do think a lot about how it would benefit you guys to see that sort of stuff, especially when there's just so much crap on the download station. But I don't know. It's an iffy thing to be in. If it's on the DLS, the last few times I've tried to like mention it to Paul, since I work for N3V, and I have him try to like mention a little blurb about it in the newsletter. John Glass, $10. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. But maybe I'll think about it. I mean, the other thing also is there isn't really that many. There isn't that many great quality routes that are really worth talking about to begin with. Like I'm not saying that as a dig to other people that are out there, but there is a lot of questionable content on the download station, and it is really difficult to filter through all of that stuff to find anything that is really worth anybody's time, including my own. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run around this consist, and we're going to sort it from the other direction because we don't have enough track length to do it through here. That's for the layout. Yeah, thanks, man. I'll definitely put it towards something for the layout. Absolutely. Look, you know, talking about like making money from YouTube and making money from trains and stuff like that. You know, a lot of people do it to pay their bills, which obviously I do as well. But I try to take as much as I can from any of the earnings that I get either through Patreon or YouTube or anything, any of the routes that I sell. And I try to put that back into content that I can give back to you guys. So for example, like, you know, maybe if this becomes a more regular thing, I can invest in some equipment that I can do this all in 4K. So you guys have better video quality to watch this. Or like you said, you know, a piece of content for the layout. Or, you know, I built a new computer a couple of years ago so that I could make better quality trains videos. You know, stuff like that. So I try to, the microphone that I'm wearing right now, you know what I mean? Like this is all funded through the YouTube videos and the Patreon and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm not trying to do this just to make a profit or something like that. I really do try to turn it around and give as much as I can back to the community so that I can continue making content that you guys and everybody else can benefit from, you know what I mean? Odin, $10. To be honest, having someone do that sort of review for routes or content for the community would be good. As much as it would be a potential struggle, it'd be good and potentially profitable. Yeah, I'll definitely consider it for sure. Doing it again, yeah. That's the thing is that I really love about doing what I'm doing, what we're doing right now. We're hanging out, doing a live stream, and you guys are telling me the type of content that you would like me to produce. And that is invaluable to me. You know what I mean? Because who else am I creating the content for? It's for you guys. Obviously, I do some of it for myself too, but at the end of the day, you guys are the ones consuming it. So if you're saying, I'd like to watch more videos of XYZ, then that is excellent feedback for me to try to create those videos. All right, what are we doing with these cars here? We know that this flat car is going to Davidson Pipe, which is down in the team yard. Now let me separate out these cards that went to the LIR. All right, so at this point we've got 4 car cards for 4 cars. And we've got Davidson Pipe. I also color card my waybills so I know what kind of car the waybill is going for. Blue is for boxcar, green is flat car, and red is for bulkhead. And then we've got these 3 rail boxes here. So plywood specialties, make sure they're in the right order here. It's so hard to read these. Put my big head in the way. 828 is at the end here. That's this guy. Oh, 13 is this guy, and then we got this guy. All right, yeah, so it just got backwards. So let me think about how I want to block this out. Where is the... And this guy is for East Peak. So we can actually spot... Why not? Let's just spot all these cars. And we'll probably just call it quits there, I think. Might be a good spot. So, I mean, normally what I could do is, if I really wanted to make things more complicated, I could say that there's another car barge arriving right now. So really what you would need to do is put all these cars somewhere on the yard tracks or up on the off-spot tracks, and, you know, take the NW2s, go unload the barge, and maybe load it up if you have some outbounds. But I could make this like incredibly busy, you know, if I wanted to. And right now we're really not that busy in this yard. This is actually pretty tame. I've definitely operated it a few times where I was like, what am I gonna do with all these cars? I don't know where to put them. But yeah, we could just spot these right away. Put my fan on. Let me just check the stream here. Looks like we got 19 people watching. Cool. Yeah, that's good feedback there, Odin. I appreciate that. Makes sense. All right, so wait, I gotta look at these car cards again here. Plywood specialties for the 2 at the back, and Hercules box, which is all the way down at the end. So let's do this. This car is going to Hercules box. Sorry. I'm getting mixed up again already. Yeah, Hercules box, and these 2 are going to plywood specialties. So Hercules box is this place here. We just spotted him. So that car is going to go right onto the siding here in the off spot area. What we could do is we could spot this CN box car. He's going to go up to here. So we can spot him. I'm just trying to think if we maybe split up our cars a little bit. And then these last 2 cars here, we just spotted plywood specialties, so they're also going to go into the off-spot spot. What's going to be the best way to do this, Joe? Yeah, so let's do this. We'll take this whole cut of cars, we'll grab that CN box car, we'll spot that CN box car, and we'll put the 2 rail boxes in the off spot. Yeah, that should do it. Man, I gotta figure out why I keep stalling in that spot. But not until after the move. This might be the last time I get to operate on this layout for a while. Until I get it moved to the new place and unpacked and rebuilt and rewired. It might be the fall before I'm doing anything again. That's why I wanted to do this on a live stream, just to kind of get some coverage of it in case something happens. The layout doesn't make the move. Let's make sure we're coupled here. Probably not. Nope. What's going on, Icer? Yeah, no 7 days. Sorry we turned it into a trains talk. Yeah, no worries, man. Doesn't bother me. Some crud in the points here. There we go. Oh, we're not going to that industry. We are going up to here. So, I mean, I gotta say, for me, like, this is pretty much like the perfect layout as far as like the size and like action goes. Like, I like switching in yards and local industries, and this is just sort of perfectly fits the bill. Let's see, let me take a peek at the chat here. Trains, and more trains. What can go wrong? Yeah. So now these last 2 cars, what did I say? They're going to Hercules, right? Both of them, or just one? I think it's just the one. So let me move, actually first, the CN box car into that cubby there. Oh shoot, it's the... Looking at the cars now. This one is the one that goes to Hercules box. These 2 go up to the industry up here. So, screw that up. Let me think about how to fix this. I can just take these last 2 and spot them on this track for a moment. Yeah, I might even need to replace this turnout. I don't know, something's... I gotta get my meter. See what's going on with that. I'm betting that the closure rails are having a problem. Continuity problem. Open rails. I have heard of open rails. I've never tried it though, personally. Same with Run 8. People are always trying to get me to play Run 8. I've never played it. So we're just going to push this boxcar a little bit past the siding that it is destined to go to, and that'll be its little off spot. Right here should be good. So let's pull forward a little bit. Put a little bit of breathing room from this turnout here. Now the next bottleneck is that those NW2s are now in the way again for me to get these pipe loads down to Davidson, so we could always just wait on that. Yeah, see, when the engine crosses through the straight part of this turnout, it's fine, but when it goes through the diverging part of the turnout here, that's where it gives some problems. And in fact, you know what? These two boxcars too, I was going to put them in the off spot up here, but I think we'll just put them in the yard, along with this pipe load. So we'll just leave these here. and decide what to do next, because basically we're done here. I think the last thing that we could do, so we unloaded the car barge, we loaded the car barge, we did some switching in the local industries. What we have here is a cut of cars that are outbound for the next barge. They'll just stay there and wait. And we have a cut of cars, 3 cars here that are going to go to the LIR. So you know what, that'll be the last thing we'll do. Let's just build this consist that's going to go to the Long Island Railroad interchange, and then we'll call it quits there. You can probably hear the Jersey Transit outside. So I unfortunately don't have a staging area, so basically I build the cars that go to the LIR go up this track right here. I'm hoping maybe once I move, I could put a little staging yard, like over there somewhere. But since I don't have that, I build the cut, and then I just kind of pull it up to that, and then to just take it apart. That's the end of it. It was very sad. But, you know, you got to work with what you got. But let's do that. We'll put the caboose on there, because they would have ran it up there with a caboose. And then we'll call it quits there. That should probably take another 10 or so minutes, 5 minutes. And the way that I have this set up right now, I don't, like I'll receive cars back from the Long Island Railroad to get shipped out on the barges. I just realized the camera's not looking at anything. But I don't have it, I just sort of build the cars like on the track here, like, you know, overnight or something like that, the cars came in. I don't drive them in actively just because I don't have a yard track to do so. So I just lay them out in the yard track and say, you know, in between sessions, this cut of cars arrived. Now the cars that go out to the LIR, I was doing some research on the type of industries that were out on Long Island, and there's a lot of like construction companies and warehouses and stuff like that. So a lot of the cars that a lot of the waybills that I need to draw up for those car loads should be more for like center beams and bulkhead cars and stuff like that. Stuff that's gonna ship out like general building materials and that sort of thing. Right now I'm also running a lot of like, you know, the layout is supposed to take place kind of in the 80s. But I've got a lot of stuff on here that's a little bit more appropriate for like the 60s. And I think I'd like to maybe phase some of that out over time. I'd actually like to get more modern stuff, more modern equipment. Some of those modern reefer cars, like the Tropicana cars, would be cool. Those really big high side trash gondolas that are kind of making the rounds right now. I'd love to get some of those. So I think over time I'll probably phase out some of the older stuff for newer stuff, but it won't be totally exclusive. I like having the option to run what I want. So we'll just bring this down onto this frontmost track. We'll run around it and we'll run it out to the Long Island Railroad interchange and call it quits. Yeah, like you could just see in the cars that I have here, I've got this New York Central system cigar band boxcar and then these rail box cars behind there. So there's a little bit of era mixing on here, but I don't mind. It doesn't bother me too much. Oh, that's pretty cool, Odin. You know, I'd like to get some of those Tropicana Juice cars, even though they never went out to Long Island. But, you know, like, it's just, it'd be cool to run, you know what I mean? It's my layout, you know, when nobody's looking, I do what I want. That's the way I look at it. If that's the type of stuff that I want to run in my own time, that's fine. You know, the other reason that there's so much era mixing right now on this is because these are just the cars that are available. You know, like I built my entire car roster from these Microtrains weathered cars, and a lot of them are of the 1960s era. So, you know, that's just how I got started with all this equipment. So, you know, over time, I'll go through and replace it. I mean, the paint scheme on the engines is from the 1980s, and I intend on keeping it that way, even if I do, you know, run more modern stuff. I just sort of prefer that paint scheme. But yeah. Alright, so now we're all connected and basically ready to make the run to LIRR interchange. Make sure all my turnouts are set. And we'll just basically pull forward until we can't pull forward anymore and pretend that it disappears off into the sunset. And obviously you can see like this corner that I'm starting to point towards is, you know, not complete yet. In fact, I think that there might not even be power over there, so the train might just stop. Yeah, I usually just sort of take them up to about here. And I'll stop him there, and then what I'll do is take these cars off the layout. And then what I do is, I'll take these, get these out of my way. I'll show you how I deal with the car cards. It's not foolproof, but it's good enough for now. So we got our cars, those 3 cars are gone. So what I'll do is I take the car cards, or the waybills out. Then what I'm going to do is I take these cards of cars that were just on the layout, and I put them into like a discard pile. So all of these cards are cars that have just been on the layout recently. So this whole pack. So I have probably 4 times as much of that in there. So the idea is I have this like discard pile so that you know, I'm not accidentally, you know, running the same cars over and over again. So now usually what I'll do is we can pretend that this guy came back at some point while we were away. Kind of reset, you know, like in between session stuff. And, you know, if I wanted to continue to operate, what I would probably do is go through, select out another stack of car cards. Or in fact, what I could do is all of these drawers that I have here, these are all cars. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but these are all full of cars. So, like, if I wanted to keep the session going, I could say, okay, this train went down to the interchange and brought down a bunch of empties with him, and, you know, stage that on one of these tracks here. And I could kind of just keep rotating things through, you know, with adding more cars, adding more car cards, and so on and so forth. But I am going to call it quits here, I think. Let me just check at the chat. Yeah, so anyway, that's the layout. This is basically the whole thing. I'll just do a little pan across. And hopefully, you know, all goes well with taking it apart and moving it to the new location. And this won't be the last time that we get to run it together. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, you know, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and leave a like on the live stream, because that helps me too. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great night. See you guys next time.